Tamil Nadu Budget, 2026 to 2031. In March 2025, the Tamil Nadu government published a promise about its own debt. It appeared in the medium-term fiscal policy, tabled alongside the state budget. Outstanding debt would be 26.1% of the state economy in 2025 to 26. Then it would fall 25.49% the following year, 24.85% the year after that. A declining path, published by the government in its own document. So the first question for any 5-year framework is straightforward. Is the state still walking that path? That is a question only the government can answer. And it should answer it in the budget speech, not in a footnote 300 pages in. Everything that follows is drawn from the state's own budget documents, as reproduced in the Tamil Nadu Budget Analysis for 2025 to 26 by PRS Legislative Research. Where a calculation is ours, we will say so. Let us start with the basic shape of the state's finances. For 2025 to 26, Tamil Nadu's economy at current prices was projected at just over 35.5 lakh crore rupees, growing 15% in a year. Total expenditure, a little over 4.86 lakh crore. Take out debt repayment of 47,000 crore, and net expenditure lands at 4.39 lakh crore, up 10%. On the other side, net receipts of 3.32 lakh crore, up 12%. The gap between them gives you the fiscal deficit, 1,06,968 crore rupees. Exactly 3% of the state economy. And the revenue deficit, which is the part of day-to-day spending not covered by day-to-day income, comes to 41,635 crore, 1.2%. Now compare that with what actually happened 2 years earlier. In 2023 to 24, the revenue deficit came in at 45,121 crore, 1.7%. And the fiscal deficit at 90,442 crore, 3.3%. So the direction of travel, on paper, is improvement. But look at the longer series, because that is where it gets interesting. Take the debt line, running from 2019 to 20 onwards. 21.5%. Then 25.2. Then 25.7. Then 26.9. Then 26.6, then 26.4, then 26.1. Read that as a story rather than a list. Debt jumped more than 5 percentage points in 3 years, from 21.5 to 26.9. Then it began edging down, slowly, about 0.8 of a point over 3 years. And the projection is that it keeps falling, to 24.85 by 2027 to 28. But that projection rests on 2 conditions holding at once. The fiscal deficit staying at 3%, and the economy growing at around 15% a year in nominal terms. Neither of those is guaranteed. Both are assumptions. Now, the single most important number in the entire state budget. Committed expenditure, 2,07,054 crore rupees. Committed expenditure means the spending that cannot easily be changed. Salaries, pensions, interest on debt. That figure is 62% of the state's revenue receipts. Say it plainly. 62 paise in every rupee of income is already spoken for, before a single policy decision gets made. Break it down. Salaries take 28% of revenue receipts. Pensions, 14. Interest payments, 21. And here is a comparison that ought to be quoted more often. Interest payments come to 69,114 crore rupees. The entire education budget, covering every school and college program in the state, is 57,783 crore. Tamil Nadu spends more servicing its debt than educating its children, by over 11,000 crore rupees. That subtraction is ours. And there is a subtler problem underneath. Committed expenditure grew 13% this year. Revenue receipts also grew 13%. which means the least flexible block of spending is growing at exactly the same speed as the money available to pay for it. No breathing room is being created. None at all. Next, capital spending. And this is where you have to read carefully. The headline looks excellent. Capital outlay of 57,231 crore rupees. Up 22% in a year. Asset creation, rising strongly. Now open the detail. Capital outlay in the energy sector rose from 124 crore rupees to 5,068 crore. An increase of nearly 4,000%. Why? Because equity infusion into the state power distribution company went from 1,000 crore rupees to 5,000 crore in a single year. Strip that increase out, and capital outlay grew by about 11.5%, not 22%. Our calculation. Now, putting money into a struggling utility may well be necessary. That is a separate argument. But it is being recorded as capital formation, and it should not be confused with capital formation, because it builds no road, no school, and no irrigation channel. Where does the money come from? Revenue receipts of 3.31 lakh crore rupees. 75% raised by the state itself. 25% coming from the centre, split between a share of central taxes and grants. The state's own tax revenue is 2,20,895 crore. That works out to 6.2% of the state economy, up slightly from 6.12 years earlier. Inside that, one tax dominates. State goods and services tax brings in 93,620 crore rupees. That is over 42% of all own tax revenue. Our calculation. And the budget assumes it will grow 23% this year. Let us flag that, because it deserves flagging. A 23% growth assumption, on the single largest revenue head, is the biggest bet in this budget. If it comes in soft, everything downstream moves. At the other end of the scale sits an oddity. Land revenue. 235 crore rupees, and falling 26%. To put that in proportion, land revenue is about 0.05% of total spending. In a state with 33 lakh hectares of idle land, that number tells you something about how the state's land assets are being managed. Or not managed. Now for the test that separates a budget from a plan. What happened when the money was actually spent? Look at 2023 to 24, comparing what was budgeted with what actually happened. Loans and advances came in 31% below budget. Housing, 28% below. Water supply and sanitation, 22% below. Irrigation and flood control, 15% below. Capital outlay overall, 9% short. Agriculture, 8% short. And own tax revenue itself came in 8% below estimate. Now look at what did not fall short. Revenue expenditure landed 1% above budget. And energy spending overshot by 187%. Read those two lists together and a pattern jumps out. Asset creating lines undershoot. Day-to-day spending lands at or above budget. Energy blows through its ceiling. And the revenue deficit? Budgeted at 37,540 crore. Delivered at 45,121. 20% worse than planned. That is not a one-off miss. That is the shape of the system. Let us talk about the power sector, because it is the biggest single fiscal fact in the state and it is scattered across the budget in pieces. Between 2019 to 20 and 2025 to 26, the state provided 83,156 crore rupees in grants to the electricity generation and distribution company. The reason is a gap between what it costs to supply a unit of electricity and what gets recovered. In 2022 to 23, that gap was 89 paise per unit. The average across all other state distribution companies was 47 paise. So Tamil Nadu's gap is 89% wider than the average of every other state's utility. Our calculation. And the state's own white paper, back in 2021, already recorded that these losses come from both high costs and low recoveries, and already called for complete restructuring. Now let us do something the budget does not do. Add up the visible power sector provision for a single year. Loss funding, 7,700 crore rupees. Domestic power subsidy, 7,546 crore. Payment to the electricity board for farmers using pump sets, 8,126 crore. An equity infusion into the distribution company, 5,000 crore. Add them together and you get 28,372 crore rupees. In 1 year. That sum is ours. For perspective, that is more than the entire allocation for agriculture and allied activities. And it is very nearly half of the state's total capital outlay. Those four numbers sit in different places in the budget. No single figure ever appears. Which means the true scale is technically public and practically invisible. There is one more thing about the power sector, and it is an opportunity rather than a problem. For 2025 to 26, the central government permitted states a fiscal deficit of up to 3% of their economy. But it also offered additional borrowing space of up to 0.5% more, specifically for undertaking power sector reforms. 0.5% of Tamil Nadu's economy is roughly 17,800 crore rupees. Our calculation. So here is the position. Tamil Nadu has the widest cost recovery gap of any large state on the measure we just looked at. Which means it has more to gain from power sector reform than almost anyone. And there is nearly 18,000 crore rupees of borrowing headroom sitting there, waiting, in exchange for exactly those reforms. That is not a small thing to leave on the table. Now, how does Tamil Nadu spend compared with other states? This is uncomfortable. Education. Tamil Nadu spends 13.4% of its budget. The average across 31 states is 15%. Health. 5% against an average of 6.2%. Rural development. 3.1% against 5.1%. That is a gap of 2 full percentage points. Agriculture. 5.6% against 6.3%. Energy. For 0.7 against 5%. Roads and bridges. For 0.7 against 4.3%. Above average. So, below the all-state average in 5 sectors out of 6. Above it in 1. And here is what makes that hard to explain away. Tamil Nadu's income per person is 3,53,483 rupees. The national figure is 2,15,935. Tamil Nadu is roughly 64% richer per head than India as a whole. Our calculation. A state at that income level, spending below the national average on education, on health, and on rural development, owes the public an explanation. And the budget has not given one. So let us name the 4 structural problems and what to do about each. Problem 1. The revenue deficit is structural, not a bad year. Every single year in the published series shows a revenue deficit. 1.9%, 3.3%, 2.1%, 1.5%, 1.7%, 1.5%, 1.2%. 7 consecutive years. The cause is visible in the numbers we already covered. Committed spending at 62% of receipts, growing at exactly the same rate as receipts. The fix is a rule, not an exhortation. No new recurring scheme may be notified without a named, recurring funding source certified by the Finance Department. Applied going forward, not retrospectively. And paired with a published target for that committed expenditure ratio. Below 58% by 2030 to 31, reported quarterly. Problem 2. The power sector is a fiscal problem wearing an energy department's uniform. The fix has 4 parts. Publish 1 consolidated power sector statement in the budget, every grant, subsidy, equity infusion, and pump set payment on a single page. Claim the 0.5% of borrowing headroom by actually executing the reforms it is offered for. Adjust costs automatically and periodically so the gap cannot silently reopen. And convert subsidy into direct transfer below defined thresholds, protecting every consumer under those thresholds completely. Problem 3. capital spending is small, overstated, and underspent, all at the same time. The fix: legislative floor for capital expenditure as a share of total spending, protected from being raided mid-year to plug the revenue account. And report utility recapitalization separately, below the line, so the published capital figure means what people think it means. The target: capital outlay actuals within 5% of budget estimates, every year. Not once. Every year. Problem 4. The relationship with the centre and the state's own revenue effort. A quarter of revenue comes from the centre, and it is not reliable. Grants at the revised stage last year came in 12% below budget. The answer is not to argue louder. It is to reduce the exposure. Own tax revenue must grow faster than devolution, every year. And the levers are administrative, not political. Compliance analytics on state GST, which is already 42% of own tax revenue. Better administration of stamps and registration, which undershot its estimate. And user charges indexed to inflation, because land revenue at 235 crore and falling is the signature of an asset base nobody is managing. No rate increases required. The yield is in collection, not in tariffs. The mistakes to avoid are now easy to list. Publishing a debt path and walking a different one, without explaining the divergence. Booking utility recapitalization as capital formation. Budgeting capital lines that are never spent, while day-to-day spending lands at or above estimate every time. Spreading power sector support across for separate lines so that no single number is ever visible. Allowing committed expenditure to grow as fast as revenue. Leaving 0.5% of the economy in reform-linked borrowing space unclaimed, while the power sector absorbs 28,000 crore a year. And sitting below the all-state average on education, health and rural development, while being 64% richer per head than the country. So here is the framework. 6 anchors, published together, reviewed every quarter. 1. Fiscal deficit, following the state's own published path. 2.8%, then 2.7. 2. Revenue deficit, again the state's own published path. 0.8%, then 0.4, and 0 by 2030 to 31. 3. Debt, back onto the published path of 25.49 and 24.85. Or a clear public explanation of why not. 4. Committed expenditure, below 58% of revenue receipts by 2030 to 31, down from 62. 5. Power sector transfers, declining as a share of revenue receipts every year, from that 28,000 crore base. 6. A single consolidated liabilities figure. Budget debt, guarantees, off-budget borrowing and public undertaking obligations, all in one number, updated quarterly. Notice something about that list. The first 3 anchors are the government's own numbers. Only the last 3 are new. And not one of them requires a new measurement system. They simply require publishing measurements that are already being taken. The sequence over 5 years is straightforward. Year 1. Publish the consolidated liability statement. Publish the power sector statement on 1 page. Legislate the revenue expenditure rule and the capital expenditure floor. Claim the reform-linked borrowing space. Year 2. Revenue deficit at the published 0.8% direct transfer of power subsidy at scale. First round of zero-based scheme review. Year 3. Fiscal deficit at the published 2.7% committed expenditure below 60% of receipts. Capital outlay actuals within 5% of estimates. Year 4. Productive capital spending at a decade high as a share of the economy. Education, health and rural development at or above the all-state benchmark. Year 5. Revenue balance achieved. Debt below 25% of the economy on the consolidated measure, independently audited. And to hold it all together, for institutions. A statutory independent fiscal council, issuing an opinion on every budget and quarterly variance reports. An outcome budget for every scheme above 500 crore rupees, with named accountable secretaries. A public investment board screening every project above 1,000 crore for economic return before cabinet approval. And a midterm review in 2028, empowered to reset targets publicly rather than abandon them quietly. 5 things to watch when the budget is read. First, does it explain any divergence from the debt path published in March 2025? The number to remember is 25.49%. Second, does power sector support appear as one consolidated figure, instead of 4 separate lines that nobody adds up? Third, is utility recapitalization reported separately from genuine capital formation? Fourth, does the committed expenditure ratio, sitting at 62%, finally get a target? Fifth, is the 0.5% of reform-linked borrowing space claimed? Let us close with something that needs saying, because this has been a critical script. Tamil Nadu is not a state in fiscal crisis. Income per head is 64% above the national average. Own tax effort is a respectable 6.2% of the economy. And the fiscal deficit is sitting at the permitted ceiling, not beyond it. The problems here are real, but they are the problems of a wealthy state managing a heavy balance sheet, not the problems of a state running out of road. What is missing is simpler than a rescue plan. Tamil Nadu published a path. It has not yet said whether it is still following it. That is what the budget speech needs to answer.